Iona Molesworth, a homeowner in Cornwall, a district in southwestern England, is constantly dealing with the problems any homeowner faces on a regular basis, keeping the roof under repair, the driveway paved, the plumbing in good working order. But Iona has to spend a little more time taking care of her house than the rest of us. She lives in a cozy little place called Pencarrow, with 100 rooms and a mile-long driveway leading up to the front door. It's the family's ancestral home, and Lady Molesworth, as the locals call her, has a full-time job taking care of it. Pencarrow is one of a dying breed of great English manor houses, a reminder of times gone by, glorious symbols of the English Empire and the aristocracy who lived in them. But the fortune that built this house is gone, and Lady Molesworth is struggling to keep the house in the family and care for it like the great treasure it is. So she and her son James, who helps take care of the place, have found it necessary to open the historic estate to tourists at £5 per head. Every afternoon, from April to November, the main rooms, as well as the grounds, are open to the public. But when winter storms recently damaged the leaded slate roof, tours had to be stopped until repairs could be made.
Unfortunately, one or two slates came off the roof yet again, and the rain came in down through and has taken a lot of the woodwork and the plaster right off. And as you can see, it's crumbling and the plaster is giving way, so we've got to do a lot of repairs on here. But we have to start at the top and work our way down. There's no point in just plastering the inside here to cover it up.
We thought it was just re-stuccoing all the outside, the south-facing wall. But when the surveyor came along, he said, no, it's the roof. The lead has gone. And it's a big expanse.
The cost? $500,000. Money the Molesworths didn't have. What they did have was a house full of valuable family heirlooms. It was time to sell something. Hidden away on an upper floor was a small treasure that had been in the family for well over 100 years. In a couple of dozen dusty red leather volumes was a collection of manuscripts and letters, an impressive array of politicians, philosophers, and writers spanning the 18th and 19th centuries. An ancestor, Mary Ford, had religiously saved all the correspondence of her brother, Sir William Molesworth, a 19th century politician. After his death, she continued to collect, and there were letters from Dickens, Lord Byron, Tennyson, Charlotte Bronte, Darwin, and Lord Nelson, just to name a few.
It was being kept for a rainy day, and the rainy day had come. And so the decision was taken to sell all the letters, all the valuable ones.
A decision to sell one treasure in order to save another, the house itself. Enter Stephen Rowe, head of books and manuscripts at Sotheby's in London. An auction house will send a curator to value a collection, and Rowe had been on many missions like this one.
The interesting thing about this collection, though, was that because it was in Cornwall, and kept in Cornwall really since the late 19th century, it had not really been looked at. So it was a sort of a little lost collection.
What was to become known as the Pencarrow collection turned out to be an absolute treasure trove of historical documents. There was one volume, however, that was missing from the rest, but luckily the housekeeper just happened to find it in the most unusual of places.
When we came to selling manuscripts to try and keep the house going, we were short of one of the musical books. And after a lot of searching of the house, we found it propping up this bed. This leg here, unfortunately, had broken, and so they just stuck the book underneath just to prop it up.
And this particular volume contained what turned out to be the collection's centerpiece, a single leaf of music, written in a hand that Stephen Rowe immediately recognized. Ludwig van Beethoven.
When seated in front of this manuscript and looking at it, I do know Beethoven's string quartets reasonably well. Of course, all my memory of all Beethoven's string quartets disappeared out of my mind. And I couldn't think maybe this was part of a movement, but it seemed to be complete in itself. So I couldn't quite work out where this fitted in with the Beethoven quartet repertory that I knew. I was very perplexed.
Rowe, a musicologist himself, was totally mystified. Although clearly in Beethoven's hand, he did not recognize the music. So Rowe called a colleague in London.
He had all the Beethoven reference books around him, and I said, could he possibly look in the book? And because I think I'd found a Beethoven string quartet movement in B minor, could he have a look in the books? And he said, oh, don't be silly. I remember those words. David said, "There's no Beethoven string quartet movement in B minor." And I said, "Well, Simon, I think there's one here. Would you please look?" And so he did, and he couldn't find anything. And so then we were set with the idea we may have a discovery here.
Was it possible that Beethoven, generally acknowledged as the greatest composer of string quartets who ever lived, wrote one in a key he rarely, if ever, used? And then, was it also possible no one knew of its existence?
Could it be an arrangement of some other piece by Beethoven? Could it be an arrangement of someone else's music that Beethoven had made? All these things were possible.
Rowe now had to either prove or disprove the piece as an original and undiscovered Beethoven string quartet. The first lead was an inscription written along the margin of the solitary sheet of music and signed by a Richard Ford.
Well, Richard Ford was a traveller and a writer and an art collector as well. And he was married 3 times, and his third wife was Mary Molesworth, who, as Mary Ford, collected the material together, which says, "This quartet was composed for me in my presence by the famous composer Ludwig van Beethoven at Vienna, 28th of November 1817. So we had some contemporary inscription or near contemporary inscription. But there are very, very few little pieces written on the spur of the moment for friends, and particularly for people like Richard Ford, who doesn't seem to have been a friend before he came to Vienna, and I think had no, as far as we know, had no connection with Beethoven after he left Vienna. So the terms of the commission, as we might call it, is very, very surprising.
So the inscription, rather than helping, actually raised more questions. But an examination of the paper itself turned things around again.
Because it's the same paper that he was using on various other works that he was writing at that time.
The paper matched, but that didn't make it a Beethoven string quartet. Rowe still had to place Richard Ford in Vienna in 1817.
And there was no evidence that we knew of his actually ever going there to Vienna. There is no mention of Richard Ford in any of the voluminous books on Beethoven. So that was a problem.
But as word of the manuscript spread, another piece of information made itself known.
It seems that Beethoven didn't only give Richard Ford the manuscript of the quartet movement, because in the Royal College of Music Library is an engraving of Beethoven which is signed by Beethoven. Beethoven did do that. It was like a sort of giving someone a signed photograph of yourself. And near Beethoven's signature was an inscription by someone called R.F. And R.F. had written on it again that this was given to him by Beethoven on the 28th of November 1817, the same date as the manuscript.
Everything had fallen into place. Sotheby's, satisfied the manuscript was genuine, moved quickly to arrange a sale. After all, the roof at Pencarrow was still leaking. To publicize the sale, Sotheby's arranged for the Eroica String Quartet to play the 43-second long piece, for what could be its first performance ever. No one outside of Sotheby's had been allowed to see the full notation. The musicians were given their first look just 20 minutes before they were to perform it.
I was really very moved by it because it was so beautiful. We were talking about 23 bars, but 23 very, very beautiful bars. He's probably considered to be the greatest master of the string quartet, and the string quartets of his last years are considered to be absolutely transcendent masterpieces.
On a wet winter day at Sotheby's, the Beethoven sold for $275,000, purchased by a Swiss foundation. The total sale price of the collection was over $1 million, double the pre-sale estimates. But it was the Beethoven that captured world interest.
Frankly, in 20 years in this business, there are very few things that I can say we've sold which add new work to a great person's output.
And this brings us back to the first treasure in the story. Although the Molesworths were excited about the unknown Beethoven string quartet, their main interest and concern is the house. Pencarrow is the treasure the Molesworths care most about. After they paid the taxes on the sale proceeds, and they paid off the outstanding inheritance taxes they still owed the government, there was barely enough left to repair the roof. And so the tourists keep coming, paying their £5 for the tour, helping the Molesworths to keep things going, to maintain the house that is their family's true treasure.